Any Nigerian watching, don't give any Other should say pitching.
They have
no
4
give police
billion.
any money
They have 4 billion.
fuel. Yeah, they've given them too much money. They have not received this kind of money for fuel before. So fuel should not be their excuse. Welcome to Reactions with Mr. Sal. This is our 23rd episode. Yep. So joining me today, as always, Mr. Henry Okwa. Okwa. Yep. Mr. Okwa, how far now? How you doing? What's going on?
I'm fine, thank you, Sal.
How was your week?
Very hectic. Work, but we're happy that we have the work at least to do.
It was a slow news week at some point, then it kind of got a little bit especially yesterday night, so anyway, let's before we start, please subscribe to Page 36 TV on YouTube, like this video, share, comment, click the notification button as well, so subscribe. Thank you. So let's get straight to business. So what's the first on the agenda? So President Muhammadu Buhari, who is on a medical vacation in London, United Kingdom, on Thursday visited the All Progressives Congress national leader and 2023 presidential hopeful, Bola Tinubu, who is also in London for a medical holiday. So it seems. Allegedly, though, is it confirmed that he's there on the medical? Because there have been reports that he had first surgery, he had second surgery, then we have had all the officials in APC right now flying to London to confirm that he's okay. We had the governor of Lagos State. That one got me really upset. Like Babajide Sanwo-Olu had to fly all the way to London, then coming back to report to people, that Bola Tinubu is fine. I'm like, okay, what's this one? Then there was somebody else that went as well. I don't know if that, before this one came in last night, that the president has gone to visit the APC national leader and future president of Nigeria. And there was no really statement that came out. There was no official statement. It was just speculations. People are saying, oh, he went to confirm that he's fine. Sarah reporters were saying that indeed he had a second surgery, and they confirmed that, saying, oh, he doesn't use a walking stick on a normal day. Why is he using a walking stick? And all these things are happening. I believe these things are intentional. I don't believe that the president just went to see him and release pictures to the media for no intentional reason. I believe these are strategic moves, but I don't know what these moves are, but the reactions I saw from Nigerians are not impressed. There were comments of people saying, oh, we have a present president, then we have somebody that is hoping to be president as well. Both of you, you are in London for medical services. You're not in Nigeria. At least if we have the one that we have already that's failed, in my opinion, going to London, that you're trying to market yourself. I believe you're supposed to be able to show people that, oh, I'm going to be able to do things differently. This is me here, having my medical checkup or my medical services in Nigeria. I'm not flying abroad, So I'm seeing these comments and I'm impressed, that Nigerians are thinking right now. They're not buying into what these people are selling. Nigerians are becoming very intelligent, So let me just get what's your reaction to the pictures that you saw with the president and Tinubu smiling like this? As one they stood and they were just smiling. I'm not trying to be insultive though, but I'm just trying to describe that image.
The last part of those observations would be that when they were sitting down, with distance, similar to what both of us have now. They had their masks on.
Oh.
But when they stood up, they took
and they were very close together.
They took off their masks. So
very unsmart team they have. In fact, they need to fire your like these people need to employ good teams. You know, if you want to market your image, you want to market wherever, get people that can get intelligent people. You know, you are social distant. You're wearing a mask when you're socially distanced. But when you guys are together, you take off the mask. Henrico, sorry to cut you off, man.
It just got me scared, I'll be honest, because it looks like Buhari is strategically endorsing Tinubu. Or at least letting Tinubu know that he has his blessing to go ahead and do this. Of course, there's nothing to be taken away from one statesman visiting another statesman.
But they could do that privately.
Yeah, they could do that privately, but I would even think that these pictures came out from Tinubu's side. If you've been following the media recently, you'll notice that there are a lot of people who are engaging having conversations basically around the 2023 elections that are coming from Tinubu's side. There was a video that you pointed out to me yesterday of that old man, probably in his 80s, saying how Tinubu was old enough to do this job, blah 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 blah. So I think it is more and it is something that has come from Tinubu's angle. You understand? One, he needs to show that he and the president are cordial. They are charming. You understand? And secondly, that he is important enough for the president to leave his own sick
medical
and come and meet him on his own sick bed. You understand? Now, I will not lie to you. The picture of these two men, which our viewers can see at this time, they look too frail. They look too frail. The country that we are living in does not require those kind of people.
At all.
We don't care what your experience is with respect to leading the ship. You've done a terrible job at it already. Do you understand? Let's even talk about legacy. Despite the hype around Lagos, there isn't a hospital that Tinubu trusts to take care of him in Nigeria. That's Tinubu's legacy. Buhari's legacy of 6 years and counting, he has still not been able to put a hospital, one hospital in Nigeria that can take care of the president's medical needs, whether it means bringing those doctors in from wherever it is that they are. Do you understand? Year in, year out, for the past 6 years plus, we've been spending money, what do they call it? Taxpayers' money. You understand? Footing bills for this man abroad. What's his name? Femi Adesina said Buhari has been using these doctors all this while.
Yeah.
If Buhari was paying from his pockets, we would like to see that he's still paying from his pocket to use this.
And that's the same person that they told us at the beginning that he was a poor man. But he was using foreign doctors all the while. The stories don't make sense.
So this brings me to my last point on this matter. I hope that our brothers and sisters whose reactions to that picture you talked about before I started talking, I hope that they will take it beyond that point. That it is not just about this picture, the way this one looks. I want you to scrutinize everything that these guys bring to you. You understand? I want you to remember the things that these politicians have said before and put those things side by side with what they are trying to say today. Do you understand? Anybody who has to go abroad for medical checkup cannot put any infrastructure in place to take care of his health in Nigeria. Nobody would. They are not doing that. Now, if Buhari, who is going out, is doing that, and Tinubu has already started showing us from now, this is what we are going to get. This is what he would do. This is what we will get.
And we need to pay attention. Like you said, we cannot joke about it. We can't laugh about it at all.
Another thing, when you are a leader, you are a public servant. Everything that goes on with you is everybody's business, as long as you are leading these people. The president for a while now has hidden whatever ailment he has been struggling with. Of course, we don't wish anybody to be ill. We don't wish anybody evil.
At the end of the day,
you need to be able to disclose these things to the people who have elected you into office.
Like medical, we can still argue that medical whatever should be kept
private.
No,
sir. Let me explain.
Where they're spending taxpayers' money,
it's not just about tax. It's not just about taxpayers' money. It's not just about taxpayers' money. We are working in a country where the big man is the one that decides how government goes, how the people in government offices behave. We saw the whole issue with body language when Buhari came in. Listen, people in Nigeria take their marking, take dressing from their leaders. You understand? If you're coming in at this point, you're not doing us a favor occupying that office. You're asking us to give you the chance to lead. Now, what we require is that you let us know whether you are physically fit for the job or not. Think about it. Since Buhari came into office, since he campaigned in 2015 and then attempted to campaign again in 2019, Nigerians have not seen him until just recently when he went around commissioning one thing or the other. When we're talking about whether he thought he was campaigning again. You understand? Now, Nigerians, the gap between our leaders and the people is so large. We need leaders who are physically strong, physically fit, and can bridge that gap.
Yep, and I want to say, like, for people that will argue that, okay, Bola Tinubu has not been the governor of Lagos State all this while, there are speculations, there are even true talks, that he controls Lagos, he makes the governors in Lagos State. We clearly saw how he single-handedly removed Ambode and put even the new guy we have right now, that's Babajide and Sanwo-Olu. Yeah, so if you are in control of this state, you can control the policies, the infrastructure, and whatever in that state. So if you have not put people in the state that could put hospitals that you can even patronize, how are you showing the people, that you can lead this country to greatness in a time where we're crying for hospitals? Doctors are on strike, though. We're not even talking about that one. Our two main leaders are in London.
Discussing with them.
Yeah, our two main leaders are in London enjoying the best medical services. So I just hope, like you have said, like, people don't sleep on these things that they are saying. Do not forget all these things when it comes to 2022 or 2023. Do not forget. These things are very clear. These people are not. I'm not.
They're not going to change. That's the honest truth. They're not going to change. If you see Tinubu in a tuxedo, you see him in Isiagu.
I'm just saying because God is like showing us everything right now. So if we make this mistake again, we are seriously on our own, though. So I'm just going to leave that one and let's bounce. Yeah, everything speaks for itself already. No fewer than 31 lawyers from the north. Yeah, specifically from the north, exactly, have indicated interest in defending the indicted Deputy Commissioner of Police, DCP Abba Kyari, who was recently suspended in connection with a $1.1 million internet scam involving internet fraudster Ramon Abbas, popularly known as Hush Puppy. The lawyer said they decided to offer him the free legal services following a call by the coalition of northern groups demanding that the fundamental rights of DCP Kyari must be protected. The CNG had earlier called for his suspension to be reversed by the Police Service Commission, saying that he is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a competent court of law. Yeah, so this is like an update, this is an update on DCP Kyari's case, so he got suspended. We talked about the suspension, but there's something very interesting I want to raise here, and this might not be a popular opinion, where they talk about the fact that his fundamental human rights or his presumption of innocence was actually presumption of innocence, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, was tampered with by the Police Service Commission, suspending him. I had to look at that very more technically, because I know when we talked about this the first time, the thing we said that we hope that he stepped aside. Yeah, and I want to give an example of that as well. So in the US, we're not in the US anyway, so the former president of the US, Donald Trump, there was so much sexual allegations against him and other allegations against him, but he stayed. He was even impeached twice, but he stayed till the end of his tenure. I think things could have been different if Donald Trump had stepped down, maybe when the sexual harassment allegations came in and whatnot, and I say that to say about another incident that happened in America as well this week, where there were sexual allegations against the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. He resisted them. At the first time, the president called for for him to step down, then the Attorney General called for him to step down. They did not suspend him, they did not impeach him, but he stepped down by himself. He voluntarily stepped down, because of value for the office and to clear his name as well. And so that governance can run, so he had to step aside. So I was looking at that case and I looked at this case as well. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, could these people actually have a case against the Police Service Commission? Because they're not just going against the FBI right now, they're going against the Police Service Commission, saying that you infringe on this guy's right of presumption of innocence by suspending him. Because suspension means that you have found something on him, which they have not told us that they have. Because what the SIP is doing right now, the Special Investigation Panel, is that they're investigating. They claim that they're investigating. They have not said that they have indicted or they have found something on him. So there's that question as to were they right to suspend him? Because I feel like the case could have been different if there were calls for his for him to step down or for him to even resign, and he voluntarily stepped down on his own, like we saw in the US in the case of the governor of New York City. So I just felt the need to raise that up here, because I saw people bashing them, saying, "Oh yeah, why are you just supporting because he's your brother?" But I'm like, putting sentiments aside and all that, could they really have a case? Where the Police Service Commission actually right to suspend him.
I think first of all, I want to say that Donald Trump is not he's not an example to use for anything.
Yeah, integrity is still away. Yeah.
So with respect to Kerry and the how delicate this particular case is.
Yeah.
We remember last week it was brought up that this inquiry from the FBI started in February. There was another one in April, and it's now that the Police Service Commission is acting on it.
Yes.
Now, one of the reasons why, as I was trying to say the other day, one of the reasons why people in public offices step aside, listen, there's nothing as good as you stepping aside
when you're Kemi as well.
When they're investigating you, your hands are clean, you step aside, they finish their investigation, and then they exonerate you and come back. And, do you know the mileage, political mileage you will get from that? Do you understand? Than for you to be seen holding on to power, struggling tooth and nail to hold on to that thing, and then you come back and it comes out that you're indicted. Listen, for the sake of Kerry's integrity, the way the public perception of him, he's our super cop. You understand? Yeah. Plenty of Nigerians love him. If I'm even bold enough to say, millions of Nigerians love him. If you can gather 31 lawyers, novel lawyers, free of charge to argue his case, I think he has a decent enough following in Nigeria. Yeah. You understand? For someone of that caliber, whether the police commission is suspending you or not, he could have done that. The most honorable thing. And if he had done that, the pressure would have gone back to the Police Service Commission. Yeah. Do you understand? Right now, the pressure is on him. Do you understand? Yeah. Of course, he's presumed innocent until proven guilty. But there's also something to be said that this man has access to certain kinds of information that he should not necessarily have access to when he's being investigated. Do you understand? Now, another reason why they ask public office holders to step aside during an investigation when they are being investigated is so that, listen, there's no way that millions of Nigerians are talking about you and you're claiming that you're innocent, that you'll be able to focus on your job. That's the truth about it. So whether you leave Kerry there or not, we will still suffer it. Do you understand? He's heading a very, very important unit, the intelligence, what do they call it, unit in the police. You understand? This does not. This fits several other agencies. Do you understand? It fits several other agencies. So we don't exactly need somebody who is embattled sitting in that place. Mr. Kerry, take your time, relax with your family. Yeah. Let this investigation go through. As soon as you're declared innocent, the police commission, I'm sure they will run back to reinstate you. You understand? So it's not.
But I'm thinking at that point in time, will he have a case against them?
Oh yes, if he feels he has a case, he can still bring that case.
But that's the problem. If he had voluntarily stepped down on his own, all these things could have been easy, But when you want to sit down there and hold on to power, and at the end of the day, I feel like we're helping the Police Service Commission even do their job, because when you suspended this guy, there's no detailed explanation as to why you ought to do this. I feel like we have done a better job in this series explaining the need for him to step aside. You talked about the fact that he heads that police intelligence response team, where you're exposed to certain whatever. And if we don't trust you at this point in time, we can't just leave you here if you don't want to go by yourself.
So you said let's put sentiment aside. It's not that we don't trust Mr. Kyari. Do you understand? Right now, Abba Kyari is Nigeria's most popular cop. Do you understand? What we are saying is that we do not expect that with all of this pressure, you have your senses fully focused on the job that you are doing. Take some time off, cool off. You understand? He has not been arrested. You understand? Stay with your family, relax. Everybody needs a vacation, especially if you're working in Nigeria, let alone in the police force. Do you understand? So take this time.
Compulsory vacation.
Take this time and rest. You understand? If you need to put a legal team together for you to take this time and strategize what your next move will be with respect to your rights that you believe have been infringed upon. You understand? This is an unwritten rule that you're in public office. The most honorable thing to do is to step aside and let that investigation continue.
Yeah, and he missed the opportunity, in my opinion.
I also want to add. So the CNG, that's what they're called. Yeah,
the Coalition of Northern Groups.
On their meeting on Sunday, they said they wanted the case transferred from the Police Service Commission to the NIA.
Oh,
that's what they said in their statement.
I didn't get that bit.
They want the NIA to investigate Kyari. How does this work?
I think they're making things look more bad for him. They're making him look more guilty, in my opinion, because it looks like what you guys trying to cover. It looks like you are trying to take it to where you feel he will easily get justice.
So the NIA is Nigeria's version of Homeland. There's nothing that the intelligence agency, there's nothing that they do that is in the public, that's open to the public.
So everything will be in secret.
So what are you trying to achieve?
Exactly.
What are you trying to achieve? You want to use more opacity to cover the lack of transparency and what the allegations against
and
you.
I feel like the more this ethnic thing in Nigeria, the day we realize that this thing is killing us, where you clearly see something is white. Because that's what I see right now. Something is obviously white, but because now my brother, now my sister, we come from the same place. It's red.
And he has never been stronger like
red.
Now. He has never been stronger like now.
I see that thing every day. I'm like,
the thing, it's not just about the North. You understand? Last week Friday, there was a segment on TV where they were talking about the newly elected head of the Association of Vice Chancellors in Nigeria. As pressmen, they'll go around interviewing other people at the events to find out what they thought about it. The first person they interviewed was the leader of Ijaw National Council. And the first thing that came out of his mouth was, I'm happy that the leader of this organization, that once again we have an Ijaw man leading. What does an Ijaw man have to do with the Association of VCs, for the love of God? We're talking of where we want institutions to be separated from individuals, you understand? Where Nigeria works for all of us. And people are looking for. I just think that
is really. Honestly. I don't know. The day Nigeria goes past that level, I feel like, that will be the beginning of a new dawn. I swear.
I doubt it will happen.
Yeah. As long as it happens one day, though, Yeah. Anyway. So the President Muhammadu Buhari federal government is an interesting one. On Wednesday, approved a federal roads and bridges tolling policy and regulations. The federal government made the decision at the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. So the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, said that the regulations were developed after extensive consultations with various stakeholders within and outside the government, including transport unions like the National Union of Road Transport Workers, Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, among others. He listed recommended tolling fees in the approved policy and regulations to include 200 naira for cars, 300 naira for SUVs, that's Jeeps, 300 naira for private buses, 150 naira for commercial buses, and 500 naira for luxurious buses and trucks. So I'm going to read a part of the statement here so people just understand a bit of this. Yeah, because people don't read these days. So part of the statement reads, it says it will be an open tolling system, just like the one that used to be in existence in the country. I don't know, were we alive that period? I don't know. I did not witness that one. No. Yeah, exactly. Instead of a closed tolling system. So they said a closed tolling system means that you pay per distance traveled. So distance dependent is what they call it. While an open tolling means you pay a fixed flat rate that is not dependent on the distance traveled. And that's the one we're adopting, yeah. So only dual carriageways. People listen, it's not all the highways in Nigeria. Only dual carriage ways owned by the federal government will be eligible for tolling by the federal government. And they say out of those, out of the 35,000 kilometers of federal roads we have in the country, only 5,050 kilometers are dual carriageways. So it's not everywhere. So it goes on to say that federal carriageways that are single, that is undivided highways, will not be tolled. Yeah. The only exceptions here will be bridges, which are listed in the policy. So that's to say that bridges are not dual carriage. You will pay tolling, whatever. Yeah. So let's finish the statement. So it says tolls revenues will be used to maintain the roads and also to repay investors who have invested in building or completing a road under the Highway Development Management Initiative. It goes on to say electronic toll collection and management systems will be prioritized over cash systems. I don't know what this means though, because even in the airport we have to pay cash. Anyway, we're going. So the last part I'm going to read, he said, the following will be exempted from tolling. So if you're riding your bicycle, if you're riding your tricycles, motorcycles, that's bikes.
Yeah, if you're flying your broomstick as well, your broom.
The witches and the wizards. Diplomatic vehicles, the military and paramilitary vehicles. You don't talk about the police. Does police fall under paramilitary?
Yes, military actually.
Police under military?
Yeah, they're part of the forces. They're part of the security forces.
Okay, so they for your high security forces. When you say military, so then the part I didn't write here, they say politicians are not exempted. Then we know that they will not pay. Let me put that out there. Okay, they might pay.
It's for every car in the
they
convoy.
may not pay.
It's for every car in the convoy.
Yeah, so Henrokwa, what do you think about this move? Okay, this part here, so what we're talking like, I want us to, okay, you might want to raise your own points, but this part that they say the toll revenues will be used to maintain the roads and also repay investors who have invested in building or completing a road. Yep, so I'll touch on that part, but go on.
So the other part of the remainder of that statement said the condition is that this will become effective when the roads are good and motorable.
What does that mean still? That's still very ambiguous in my opinion.
I think reintroducing tolling is a good move with respect to governments generating revenue.
Yes.
However, these roads have been bad for Nigeria, for the whole of Nigeria's history. Our roads have been terrible. Do you understand? So when will these roads be motorable? When should people expect that?
How do we know what is motorable to the federal government, to be honest? Yeah, what's the standard? There needs to be a standard. How do we know what's motorable to you? Because what's motorable to you might not be motorable to us, the public, who might still think the road is not good enough for us to pay tolling. So that's still a very serious point there, but go on.
It brings me to my second point. In 2012, Fashola introduced the Lekki toll gates.
Yes.
And started collecting money, and it was concession to the Lekki concession company that now operates that particular place and pays revenue to the government. There's been a lot of talk about who owns that company and how much money is paid back to Lagos State government and how much is paid back to certain former.
And there was there was a court judgment recently where they have sent 100% back to the state government in Lagos. Now,
you see, so when we are looking at policies like this, I feel like if we had leaders who were more involved, so to speak, who were also sincere about the work that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's not just about announcing something. Do you understand? You want to walk people through the process of how their lives will be better because of these things, like this thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
Now, in 2012, when Fashola, as governor of Lagos State, concessioned the Lekki toll gates, there was a protest, a massive protest where police came. Big stars, big Nollywood stars were there. You understand that Desmond Elliot was there. Kate Henshaw, who is now an elected member of the Lagos State House of Assembly. Kate Henshaw was there. Ebwa Adegborough was the leader of that protest. You understand? And the major issue there was the details of the contract between the Lagos State government and the concession company was not made clear to the public.
Exactly.
These are the areas that we believe that government should start. That's where your work should start from. Do you understand? This is how we want to do this thing. How do you people think? Where's the consultation with the people? That's one thing. Another thing is, have we completely eradicated insecurity? Because from the way I understand it, insecurity exists on our major highways that link states, interstate highways. You understand? Now,
very rampant now.
Exactly.
The kidnapping.
Now you want to put people with money on the roads
to slow down. Where they go
no, you're keeping people with money in the middle of the road, telling bandits that, well, if you don't catch that one when they're there, you can catch these ones. They are available for catching. That's basically what it is.
The tax collectors.
Because it's too dangerous right now. If the highway that I'm most familiar with is the Kaduna Abuja Expressway, you understand? The toll gates have been abandoned for years, many years.
Oh, they have tolls there.
Yeah, we had toll gates about 18 years ago. They were functional. Okay. Every time you crossed, you pay a certain amount. And I think what used to happen then was, if you're coming from Kano, you would collect a ticket from the Kano Zaria, what they call it, toll gate. You collect another from the Zaria Kaduna toll gate. You collect another from Abuja Kaduna toll gate. You understand? So it is those tickets that you are collecting. When they ask you there, where are you coming from, and then you say this, so you show those tickets. This is where I'm coming from. So it's almost as if there's maybe you are supposed to pay 1,000 to the federal government for driving from Zaria to Abuja. You understand? So you pay a certain amount at the Zaria Kaduna this thing. If you don't make it all the way to Abuja that day and you decide to rest, you're not paying. But when you continue, you pay. So it's as if the federal government is saying, for every 300 kilometers of road that you use, you pay us 1,000 naira. That's how that's basically what the
but now they're saying it's not based on distance now, so to be fixed. So we don't know how they're going to even do it. At what point? How many roads? If you're traveling from here to Warri, how many are you going to pay?
It's usually at the boundaries of the state boundaries. You understand? That's where these toll gates are positioned, and I just fear for the security of it. For the security of it, basically, because you cannot guarantee people's safety there. Are you now going to deploy policemen to stand at those toll gates because of that?
The ones that are collecting the money,
just for that particular reason. I don't see how.
This is supposed to be a welcome development. You know, if it was well spelled out and well thought of and well planned, which I don't know. I don't know whether to trust them that they did that at this point in time. But if this was well thought out, you know, where they held a meeting and they've thought about how do we develop the federal road networking in Nigeria, which is this one of the means, you know, where, okay, you have laid down the map of the road network in Nigeria. Either you're dealing with the old ones or you want to even create new ones. Because I keep arguing with people. I'm like, why are we still using the old networks? We can still figure out even shorter cuts and create new networks for interstate federal roads in Nigeria. Exactly. So we can do that still. So if you have laid down as the Ministry of Works and Housing, you have put that down, you know, you've mapped out everything. This is a way to get investors to come and help develop the roads if the federal government cannot do everything. And getting investors, they'll put their money, is right from them for them to make their money back. In a normal society, if this was well thought out. So this, like I said, this is supposed to be a welcome development, you know, where, okay, if this is well spelled out, because I believe all of us want good roads. If you're traveling from here to any state right now, you're passing through that Kogi, the road is horrible, you know, and slowing down on those roads still makes you very vulnerable to criminals, you know, because if the roads are smoother, you know, if they're even dualized, if every federal road is like our Abuja Airport Road, come on, man.
Have you guys seen
That's
that?
what I'm saying. The standard. You have never told us what you're talking about. Motorable. What's the standard? I think they need to establish what this standard is. And when contractors are coming, they need to know that this is what the standard. And Nigerians are supposed to even know that this is what the standard is, so that if you live within that community and these contractors have been designated to construct those roads and it's not up to par, there's somewhere you can go to because you know what the road is supposed to look like and you can report as well. So they don't just stay there and start collecting toll gate money for doing one useless work. And there needs to be, I don't know whether you need to give them a stipulation, maybe for how many years, and maintenance as well.
That's how
Establish maintenance. How regularly are you supposed to maintain the road? Like all those things, everything needs to be very spelled out. This is not supposed to be bad to me.
I feel like our leaders more and more are just sitting down in their houses, getting ideas and then running to town with these ideas. This one will join so many other things that have been said before. But one thing we have to consider as well is that this government is on its way out. We need to consider that as well. Another government coming in, would that government actually take this policy on? I want to say, I'm saying this because we are getting into an election year where the people are already complaining that they're suffering too much. You tax us normally. You tax us normally. From our from the tax that you're collecting from us, you have developed a budget for road maintenance, road building, and reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads. Yeah. After those things, you have not explained to us why, despite the record, what do they call it, appropriation of funds for rehabilitation of infrastructure in Nigeria, we still have terrible roads. Our road network is still terrible. You are now placing an extra burden on the people who are using the bad roads to come and pay money consistently for those roads to be fixed. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it actually doesn't make sense. You would expect that a government like the APC's government will be trying to reduce the burden on individuals. Who are the people that look at it with the level of insecurity today? How many people are actually traveling by road? I have not gone to Kaduna in over 3 years because the roads are not safe. Who are the people that are actually traveling by roads? The people who are risking their lives and carrying people by road to Kaduna and other states. They are already suffering. They already have bad roads. They already have insecurity to bother with. Now you want to add toll gates, this into it. Do you understand? Now the last part of my thinking on this thing is so when people come to pay. If you're putting an electronic system in place, it means that there will be something that generates receipts. It means that there will be an arm that grows over the road. You cannot pass electronically, and then when you've paid, they click the button and then it passes. So it means people will be there around the clock. It means that at some point, one person, you may not have change for one person, and people will line up. When we are fighting bandits and kidnappers in Nigeria, people will now line up. What are we thinking?
Okay, this thing is not making sense now, because in London,
the practicality
in London, they don't use, even if you're using cash, the machine must have change to give you quick, and it doesn't even need a human being to be there. At Heathrow, you don't need a human being there. Like even at our airport, you need human being to see find change to give you. There, you do this thing. It's a one-man thing, and you clear and be going. So you talked about that one because I saw people raise that issue as well. There's so much poverty right now. There's high rate of inflation. Everything is going up. A slice of plantain right now is not 15 naira even in a buka. So and another thing I saw in the comment section, because I have to bring what the people are saying in the streets as well, because they're saying right now, you the government going to wipe out the money that will pay to police at checkpoints as well, so are we going to pay police at checkpoints and pay for toll gates as well and settle NDLEA, whatever, all the other ones that line up on the road, because these people on the road and they pay these people. So, and there's no money. Everything is just going up. And I felt like this was done at the very wrong time. So much as I can buy their argument, okay, if this would be, but your argument still counters it, because every year there are budgets for these things. What have you shown us that you have done with this stuff?
We have collected extra loans. We've collected loans to fix roads in this country.
If they had done this from the beginning, then it could have made sense. They will know, okay, there was nothing in budget for federal roads from the onset.
Okay, so the truth, the truth is that with Nigeria's huge infrastructure deficit, you understand, it makes sense,
to do
tax
this.
people, road users. Do you understand? To maintain the roads and build more roads. You understand? Certain roads probably expand them. Make the whole idea is that your focus should not be about making money. It should be about making the lives of these people easier. Do you understand?
And I could have made those fares even cheaper.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's too much.
You can tell from the wording of this thing that all the government is interested in is bring that money from your pocket.
Yeah.
That's all.
You can make this money cheaper because this is an ongoing thing all year round. So even if you make it 50-50 naira, you know, or 20-20 naira, like make it not look like you're trying to burden the people more. Yeah. Anyway,
we'll see how that develops now.
We'll be watching. Like they said, they have not implemented. Let's see what the real plan is. Because it's one thing for you to announce. It's another thing for you to go through with the whole thing. But I think Ministry of Works or Minister, whoever minister is there right now, please pay attention. The quality of the road is very important. Whatever you mean by motorable needs to be clearly defined. People need to know what that means.
Practicality of it.
And the thing, the thing still as well, yeah.
Avenues for extortion in this country.
The thing is that when it comes to road is not something you should be building every day. Let's say the truth.
Of course not.
See Abuja roads. If you do it well one time, you're not going to UK or even South Africa and seeing them building road, except they're building brand new roads, not working on an old road. Because I was in Jabi there when I saw Julius Berger doing the roads there. I saw how thick they made that stuff. You know, you can see pothole in that stuff now. You know, so we need to get this thing right, I beg. Yeah, people are doing this shit, get this shit right. Anyway, let's go, yeah. But they should just understand that Nigerians are no fools anymore. That's just the truth. So if you're not going to be sincere in what you're trying to do, like, just shut up. Yeah. So the Minister of Police Affairs, Muhammad Dingari, stated that the federal government has approved 4 billion naira in the 2021 budget for the fueling of all police vehicles. Dingari noted that the amount would cover expenditure on fuel supply to police commands in the 36 states of the Federation as well as the Federal Capital Territory. He said that the approval was the first in the history of the Nigeria Police Force. What a first-breaking record.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So his words, this is what he said in quotes. So he said the ministry is deeply grateful to President Buhari, to Mr. President, and the National Assembly for approving funds for the supply of fuel to the 36 states police commands across the country and the FCT to increase their efficiency. I think that part is very important, to increase their efficiency. So right now, police has broken record. I've been a National Assembly of President Buhari don't break record. How are all these things supposed to be news, to be honest, man? Like, yeah, I'm not.
So when he says that this is a historic thing.
Yeah, so it's not history.
What has the Ministry of Police Affairs?
What's the duty of the Ministry of Police Affairs?
Don't worry, we have Ministry of Defense, so let's assume that they have a ministry and it is functioning for a particular purpose.
Yeah, anyway.
We've been submitting budgets for the last how many years? Is the police telling me now that there's nothing called logistics and transportation in their budget that they've been submitting?
Yeah, but it's the highest amount they have got.
Okay, it's based on the amount.
It's based on the amount. So made it historic. They have not gotten 4 million before.
We are joining him to say thank you to the President and the National Assembly because Nigerians are actually tired of buying fuel.
That's what I wanted to say.
They are tired of buying fuel. And the funny thing is that it's not only when you go to them for them to help you. Yeah. If they stop you at night, on your way home, they'll tell you, see our truck, buy fuel for us.
So
they'll tell you to donate. During fuel scarcity, they'll tell you, bring us 10 liters. You give us money for 10 liters, or give us 10 liters of fuel.
So we don't want to hear that one.
We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear that when Amrobas robbed your house, you go and meet police, they say no fuel to, yeah, because that one happened to me.
That happened to me.
God forbid. But no, in case anything happen, you know, you need police service. You know, they will not tell you, we don't have fuel. Because we have heard this news, 4 billion has been given. And the Oga says is historic.
So, you know, for a while, we've been talking about police welfare. You know, we've been talking about the state of our men in uniforms, and we've seen how they look on the streets. We've seen the kind of vehicles that they use. The other day, I made a video. If I can transfer it, I'll transfer it to you so that we can include it. A police vehicle, the whole back of it was destroyed, completely in tatters. The policemen said there were about.
They were inside.
They were inside. It was conveying policemen from on the express from They looked haggard. Do you understand? So I'm always looking at this thing, because for me, I'm not looking at them as, oh, it is your job to respond. They're human beings. Yeah. If someone has not finished eating and the person is not satisfied, you don't expect the person to come and help you fight crime.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you understand? So I'm always looking at these things. I'm happy that they've given them 4 billion naira for petrol, but I wish they would increase their salaries, for example, because they're paid terrible sums. Yeah, a constable in the Nigerian police force is earning about 25,000 naira in this country.
Yeah. Although the minister did not talk about salaries, but some part of the statement, which I didn't put here because I was focusing on this 4 billion for fueling, they talked about the fact that they're trying to get them more kits, more vehicles, more wares. They talked about wares, but they didn't talk about their salaries, and that's one thing NSAS people cried for as well, which they said that they were going to do. They have not talked about providing them good offices like police stations, man.
At the end of the day, the equipment and uniform and whatever that they get for these guys, without proper welfare and proper training.
I thought they said the UK people train our police. I beg. I heard that news somewhere.
No, stop it. Stop it.
Yes, I saw that thing during SARS, whatever, but I'm like, the UK train our...
Probably the officers cadre.
Okay, maybe...
Probably those ones at the top.
I think the training starts from the recruitment level. Oh, did you... I don't know that you saw that video during that NSAS period where they changed the SARS to SWAT and there was a bit...
Do those people look like people that have been trained by UK police?
No, they were in the bush. Did you see where they were fighting?
When they were training them now, do those people look like Scotland Yard that have...
Our leaders play as well. Like, you can't joke with police though. I think... Come. And like you said earlier, if these guys, because I believe some of these people legitimately join the force to actually protect. But when you join a system that is stopping you from functioning, and there are many organizations like that in Nigeria, where your hands are tied, not because you want your hands to be tied, but because the system, the structure of the system just ties your hands up and you can't really function. I believe some of them want to go on rescue missions, but if there's a vehicle there that's not functioning well, or doesn't even have you don't even have right guns to or good bulletproofs to actually go. What do you do? Do you understand? Yeah, so police, we wish you guys good luck, but at the end of the day, the main thing is that we don't any Nigerian watching, don't give any that's teaching.
They have
don't
4
give police any money.
They have 4 billion.
For fuel. Yeah, they've given them too much money. They have not received this kind of money for fuel before. So fuel should not be their excuse.
Let me just run the numbers for us very quickly.
What numbers? The former numbers?
No, don't worry. You see what I'm talking about.
All right.
Just it. 4 billion, yeah?
Yeah. You want to divide it? That will be divided by 37. Is that money enough, Enrico?
Wait now.
Okay, for 1 year, Sha. It's naira, it's not dollar.
It's naira, yeah. So, the Nigerian police has 24.5 billion liters of fuel.
Nadi.
24.5 billion liters of fuel.
Okay, not serious.
No more. Did you not at least no, sir? What I'm saying?
Did you use 262? I'll be 262.5.
For what?
For fuel.
No, it's 163 now.
Oh, sorry. 163. 162 I buy. For men
and so you see, so there's even margin said 1 naira from each liter. Please, let's be guided.
Oh, right. Yeah, but I'm happy like these informations are coming out publicly, even if they don't know the effect of releasing these statements like publicly. They probably might not figure out like, should we have reported that in the public? Yeah, report it so we can use that against you to hold you to task.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so last week Friday, in an exclusive interview with Arise TV, one of the best TV station in Nigeria. Yeah, a former military head of state, Ibrahim Babangida, said that the next president of Nigeria come 2023 general elections should be in his 60s, according to the candidates he has seen that have the qualities to lead the country to greatness. So this is what he said, part of what he said during the interview. So he said, if you get a good leadership that links with the people and tries to talk with the people, not talking on top of the people, then we would be okay. I have started visualizing a good Nigerian leader that is a person who travels across the country and has a friend virtually everywhere he travels to, and he knows at least one person that he can communicate with. That is a person who is very terse in economics. This was on Thursday, not Friday.
Yeah.
On Thursday. Yep, Thursday interview, not Friday. And he's a good politician who should be able to talk to Nigerians and so on. I have seen 1 or 2 or 3 of such persons already in his 60s. So the clarification I want to make here, is that most of the media houses run with this story. I don't know whether we made that mistake as well initially, where they said he said the next president of Nigeria should be in his 60s or should not be more than 60 years old. That's not what he said. He said he has seen 1 or 2 or 3 people who are in their 60s that he feels have the qualities to be great president of the country. So anyway, what I want us to talk about here. So there's this thing about age recently, so let's talk about this factor of age, where we're championing right now saying the next president of Nigeria should not be, some people like that Kemi Olunoyo, or I don't know how to pronounce her name. Yeah, she said, next president of Nigeria should not be more than 55 years old. It says should be 55 or less. People are saying right now, we don't want old people. We don't want anybody above 60. We don't want anybody above 70. Some are coming out to say, age does not matter. As long as the person has the capability to rule, as long as they're a great leader, they can engage well, they have great economic policies, they even compare to America. They were like, look at Joe Biden, look at Donald Trump, in their 70s, this one almost going to 80, and it was recently voted to rule the biggest country in the world, and also, we have one. I wanted to say reckless governor. I really wanted to say reckless governor. But we have one that is capitalizing on this whole youthful president thing. That's not finished developing his states. Coming out right now, running up and down, and we have organizations already endorsing him just based on the age factor. I don't want, are we getting carried away by this age thing? What's your thought on this age thing, in terms of looking for the next president of Nigeria? Do we just take somebody and say, they're 40 years old, they qualify, they are not weak, or should we look beyond the age? Still considering the mistakes that we have made, but we should still look deeply though, let's not make a mistake still with this age thing that is really going on in discourse right now in terms of our next president. Yeah.
I think we'll be serving ourselves well to look beyond age. That said, the mistakes that we have made in the past.
No, Henry, let me take you back.
Okay.
You say we'll be serving ourselves well.
We'll be serving ourselves well to look beyond age.
Why? Let's do the why.
Our next leaders.
Let's do the why.
Because we have, as you pointed out, a governor who is, and to be honest, wisdom is not just about age. Do you understand? The ability to lead. Emmanuel Macron is in France. He became the president of France at what age? 30 something. Do you understand? Now, if we are talking about that, according to Nigeria, now he's not good enough to lead a country. But he's good enough to lead one of the top economies in the world.
Exactly.
Do you understand? So it's not just about age. As I've said several times, what we want from our leaders has to be clear to us first before we use those things that we want to pick our leaders. Do you understand? This whole conversation about age, for me, I think it is a bit lazy in political discourse, because it is not just about age.
I like that word, lazy.
Understanding economic policies, understanding where society meets. You understand the key points where where life starts for the people. Understanding those things, understanding how to relate with the people, understanding how to build bridges. All of these things are not dependent on age. You'll find people who, okay, let's talk about the person who is leading us right now. As old as can be, but has been the most divisive factor in the whole country. You understand? Since from his first speech up till now, Nigerians have been divided, and we've not found our way back. Now that unity is, see, if there's no unity among the people, any policy you bring out will always be looked through that prism of the divisions that you have made. If you bring out a policy that's supposed to benefit people, whether in the north or in the south, you understand? There was something about shoot aside the shoot aside order that the president gave, or about anybody that's seen carrying walking around with arms. You understand? Now you have given that kind of directive. But because you have been such a divisive factor in national discussions, people are now asking, are bandits involved? If you were not that divisive, when you give that information, everybody will take it that north, south, east, west, it applies to everybody. So you get the point. Now, we need to understand that these things have an effect on our own lives. These things have an effect. If you can unite the people, if you can prefer policies, if you see yourself as a servant of the people, you're a good candidate in my own book for Nigeria to be Nigeria's president. Now, we are not talking about education, academic qualifications and whatnot. We're talking about leaders, real leaders. They're leaders that have led countries without really going to school. Do you understand? So it's not stuff that is only taught in school. You must be a student of life. You must see yourself as
leadership
a servant
skills.
Of the people.
Leadership skills.
It means if the people ask you questions, you will answer. It means if the people are in trouble, you will come there and see what is happening and let them tell you what they want you to do about that thing. Do you understand?
So this question right now, with Nigerians thinking that, you guys have said, okay, we should not vote old person because of what we have seen. You guys right now are not saying, don't just use age, wherever. Some people might be confused to say, okay, what should we look out for? I think that's what you have answered now. And I think that's because when Babangida did this interview, he got a lot of attacks, people talking about his past era, people focusing on his comments on the June 12th, whatever thing. I think whatever he said here concerning our picking of the next president of Nigeria is quite spot on to me, in my opinion,
I agree.
Because when he says a person who travels across the country, we need that. Somebody who has a friend virtually everywhere in this country that can unite. That's unity he was talking about there. Somebody that is versed in economics. Very, very important, because we are suffering economically right now. Because I believe the president at least should have an idea, because you are going to summon and organize your economic team. You must have the ability to pick these people, not just based on party sentiments, but based on people who can do the job that you have visualized in your head. You must have a visual picture for where you want to take Nigeria to. Those are the people we have to look out for, not just saying age, because too many people right now are capitalizing on this age thing. And I feel like even when we're talking about the age thing, our minds are restricted to Tinubu, Atiku, and maybe Yahya Bello. We need to start thinking outside that box.
You know the funny thing? Age was the last thing that IBB mentioned in that list. Age was the last thing.
Exactly, because he just went on to end there. And he said those people he has seen in their 60s, but everybody just ran away with that.
That's the laziness. That's the laziness. That is the laziness that I'm talking about. You understand? All these other things are... We'll see.
No, so I just hope because we're hoping at the end of the day, one of the purpose of this platform is that we can influence the thinking of the populace out there in picking our leaders, in knowing what governance actually requires, so we don't just end up settling. you know, or just limiting our thinking as to what we can like gain personally from our brother, our sister that were put in power. We must think beyond. Find leaders who can visualize something and let us know this is what I see for the country. This is what I want to make happen for this country. And they really mean it. I think people that care about the country, you know, we need to find leaders that actually care about, that genuinely care about this country.
I feel like at this point, anybody who has been divisive in the past, anybody that has told a particular ethnic group to go and jump from a rock or to go and jump into a lagoon it's not suitable.
We don't care whether they come and say they have repented.
You don't care. You don't care. This is not we are not the correctional.
They say a leopard never changes spots, Abi. Exactly.
So let's be guided, please.
All right, on our final topic for today, we're almost on time. So there were viral pictures on the social media on Tuesday showing the governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, in some schools in Baga local government area of the state, conducting and supervising impromptu tests for teachers. The governor's spokesman, Issa Gusa, told newsmen that the test was conducted to determine the level of the teacher's qualifications and the ability to teach professionally in order to transform the education sector in the state. At the end of the exercise, the governor told the teachers that those who are not capable of teaching would be moved either to the administrative department or sent for further training. Heroka, what did you think about those pictures?
I'm thinking about the teachers who are in Maiduguri, who are in Bama, who are in other local governments.
Why are you thinking about them?
Because it looks as if the governor has just gone out on a whim and done this thing.
Huh?
It looks as if the governor has just gone out on a whim, instinctively. I feel like I should go and do impromptu tests.
No, do you think that's not the way people think about Zulum, or they see him as one of the most, you know?
Yeah, because the standard is extremely low in Nigeria. Listen, we have a.
The Zulum was sitting down there supervising.
So we have NUT. We have NUT. We have SUBEB.
Oh wow!
You understand? Which is the State Universal Basic Education Commission. You understand? We have bodies in place to ensure that the level of teaching.
And those bodies working.
If this governor is actually sincere about it, he's a professor, he would go through those bodies and tell them that in the next 4 years, I want the standard for the teachers in this, in this state to be at so and so level. That's what the governor who is, as I said, sir, it is about the sincerity and genuineness of these actions. That
I swear, let me just say this here. There are some news I see. There are some news I see in Nigeria. I think they are fake news, but when I see that these on the credible newspaper, I'm like, this really happened, because I saw the picture. I'm like, this is not possible. So it happened.
Let's use an example. Yeah. Juxtapose what Zulum has done in one school, in one local government, with what Nasir El-Rufai did across the whole state. Do you understand? Listen, implementing policies is not based on how your stomach feels. It's a systemic thing. You understand? You put structures in place today that will affect your state 20 years down the line. That's how these things are thought through. So you move those ones to administrative administrative and the department, and then you send to some for further training. At what expense? What is your? Do you understand, sir? Think about it like a factory that's making, say, close up. There's the part that makes the plastic cover. There's the part that makes the tube. There's the part that
division of labor, basically.
All of these things come together to make a system work. Any system that you think of has several. Exactly. Any system you think of has several parts. Now you have gone to the part of the symptom. Do you understand? When you see teachers who cannot teach well, it is part of the symptom of collapsed education sector. When you see students performing poorly in what do they call the general examinations, it means that the education system has collapsed. You understand? Now, you're not going to kill the parasite. You are coming to Tepi Sponge and say, your body is hot, oh, let's bring down your temperature with cold water. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And he's a professor for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So
that's why I didn't believe
all of these things are just, for me, is this grandstanding. You understand? I'm working.
I didn't want to believe that this was eye service, but I didn't know what else to put on this one, because the impromptu test we used to get in secondary or primary school were by our teachers, where the teacher just walks in and say, "Hey, class, we have a test today."
When we were in school, when we were in secondary school, we used to have inspectors come and visit the school. At some point, they will not even tell the principal of that school. They'll just come in. They have their what do they call it? Their records that they're using to
rate the teachers.
Exactly, to note what they're observing. You understand? And then they take back and say, okay, this is what is happening. Then that education body will not come and say, hey, this school, this is how you perform, blah 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 blah. Where is that?
Yeah.
Is Zulum telling us they don't have that?
But can we argue that it's because of the lack of that Governor Zulum felt the need to leave his office and all other important issues?
Governor Zulum is a professor. There's nothing higher than that in education. There's nothing higher than that in education. It means that he should be able to understand the system, understand where he needs to put. You see, let me explain something here. If you develop an education policy and you start today, so even if it runs for only 3 months, there will be an effect 20 years from now. Do you know why? Because one student will appear in class, and one teacher that, even if it's just one person, one teacher will pay attention to one student, and that one student's life. That's what we do with our teachers. Our teachers are the points where the lives of children, irrespective of where you're coming from, turns for the better. Do you understand? Teachers are pointers to destinies. Do you understand? You don't play with those kind of things. You don't play with those type of things. You don't come out and say, hey, I feel like it's an impromptu test. So, did you see what was written on the board?
And somebody, that's what I wanted to say. Somebody was asking me like
so the English teacher now should answer those mathematics questions.
The Greek teacher.
Do you understand?
Like, it didn't make sense, but we can argue that maybe we didn't see the test for those ones though, for the biology teachers and for
so the governor has the whole time in one day.
And how many schools did he go? This shit was just confusing. I'm like, what is this one again? Like, we have the most ridiculous news emerging every day in this country. I'm like,
it's because our culture makes us long for heroes. We don't need heroes.
And I still talk about the team that they have, because as a leader, heading whatever organization, big or small, I think your strength shows in the kind of team that you have. Because I can have an idea, but I should have a team that should let me know that, that idea is not going to fly. I think we should do it like this or do it like that. See the way you broke it down right now, where there's a system that's already responsible, and you're the governor. You are in charge. You can instruct, you can direct, you can give timelines of things that you want to happen.
No, sir.
Yeah.
We are praising Zulum, that Zulum is such a fantastic leader. What was Zulum's education policy coming into office? What is he working with? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Show us from your own manifesto what you said you do about education. Tell us how this test that you have done impromptu, how you are going to do it in the remaining local governments in Borno State. Tell us how you are going to be the principal invigilator.
Yeah.
You're a governor in a state that has been battling insecurity for how many years, and you have the time to go and conduct.
I don't know, man. This one made me give him a question mark, because I'm like, what's this? I don't understand. Yeah, anyway, that's our final topic. Henry, is there any other thing you have to talk about, or do we bounce?
No, I don't think so.
There's nothing else,
Yeah.
So this week was quite a dry week.
Well, we would rather take uneventful weeks in Nigeria, knowing the kind of events that come.
The ridiculous happening of yesterday.
So we can still use a few minutes, a few seconds we have to reiterate the reactions to Mr. Sal's message.
Okay.
Everything that we do is to help our listeners, our viewers, understand how things work.
Yes.
We do not know everything about what we are talking about. We would like to hear back from you. That said, do not take anything that you see in the news on the surface. There's a lot more. Do you understand? You can see one story about religion. You can see another one about economy. I guarantee you, they meet somewhere.
Let me give this example. So I was reading comments about the president's visit to Bola Tinubu yesterday. So I read a comment. I think somebody was attacking Bola Tinubu to say that, oh, it's actually, okay, the president's visit actually confirms that he's ill. I think Sarah Potter did a story, something like that. So somebody commented to say that, no, that he's actually well, because even the governor of Lagos State went to go and visit him, and he came back to tell us that he's well. And somebody else replied that comment to say, and you believed him. Yeah, but I'm feeling sorry for the one that put the comment to say, he's actually well because our governor traveled to go and visit him. The fact that you think that it was normal for your governor to abandon office to go to the UK to go and verify whether who though?
I know, right? I know, right? And the reason why we do this is because we know that fellow who made that statement about the governor confirming, there are more of them.
That's why I'm sitting down here.
And we choose to accept. Now, that is all that we are trying to do with this. If we can awaken one Nigeria from all the episodes, from these 23 episodes, if it's only one Nigerian that we can awaken, we are happy with that. We are happy with that.
Yeah.
So please, be on your guard.
Exactly.
Please get more information.
In as much as you want to laugh.
And take care of the next person beside you. You understand? You may know better. Do not write that person off.
Yeah.
We need, if Nigeria is going to succeed, we need everybody to be at a particular level at least. And that level, we are so far away from it. So let's lift any other person that you can see that we come across to that point, so that all of us can have a sensible conversation about Nigeria and how we want to go about this.
Yeah. And in as much as people want funny content, you want to watch Big Brother Africa and laugh, we can balance things. Do not over prioritize those content and leave serious content about the future of the country. Then later we complain that things are not working. These are discourse, that we're having right now, making other people aware that, oh, these are the things you should not accept. These are things you should accept from your leaders. And these are the things you should even do to become a good and better citizen, that can affect the society in a great way, so yeah, I don't want us to just laugh and joke about our future. I hope everybody takes things seriously. We should laugh, joke, but when it comes to serious matter, pay attention. There's some people that they don't listen to news. They don't care. If you don't care, who we care? We're stuck here. We're not stuck here though. We're here
together.
Exactly.
We're all suffering it together. So
anyway, thank you guys for watching Henrikwa. Please, thanks for coming
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Please subscribe to Page 36 TV on YouTube. We'll keep singing it every day. Yeah. Like, comment, share, please, and let us know what you think.
Feedback. You can reach us through our social media accounts.
And if you have any important message you want to share, please feel free to email us. You might want to come and sit down and talk about whatever is going on in your community or whatever has happened to you personally. Yeah, we need more of those discourses as they happen. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you.